Today I'm actually kind of nervous about making this video. I'm not really sure why I am, because it's something I've talked about with friends, with family, publicly online, all the time. But I guess since it's such a serious issue, is why I'm kind of nervous about it. But today I want to talk about depression and, in my case, high functioning depression and what I know it as, more so than just a general topic. Um, I don't really know where to start. So, I know like depression affects people year round, but it can get especially bad during this time of year around the holidays because some people have toxic families, toxic relationships, or, people, a lot of shit just happens, so bad shit happens. And a lot of people like to take, since people are together at this time of year, families and friends like to take it, whatever went wrong through the year, out on people who don't deserve it. And it can just make for a really rough time, or a lot of people have lost people during this time of year. And for some people, it's the best time of year. It's really holly and jolly and fun, but for others, they dread it. And I think that's why I'm kind of doing this video now instead of at some other time in the year, just because, I mean, along with the holiday season, it's getting colder. Filming this on the first day of winter, like today, it's been rainy for the last 2 days. It's chilly, and that weather, well, it doesn't affect me. I actually quite like that weather, so you can get all cozy. Um, and sorry about the lag. I tried some other things to fix it. Has a mind of its own. Hopefully, Santa will bring me a camera for Christmas. That would be great. But and but yeah, it's cold. It's dark. It gets dark earlier. It rains a lot more. It snows for some people, not down here. But yeah, it's just, people tend to get in their own mind when they have to stay inside all the time, or that it just can be really rough. And I mean, then there's also seasonal depression that tends, if you have it, tends to get worse around this time of year when it's cold and dark and wet. So that's kind of just why I want to talk about it now. And like I mentioned, my depression is high functioning. So most of the time, if I do get in a depression state of mind, it doesn't last very long. It's not terrible. I mostly just lose motivation. That's the main thing. I have no drive, no motivation. Don't really want to do anything. And I don't necessarily always get that sad feeling. Sometimes I do, but it's more of an empty feeling where it's just like there's a void and I can't fill it. But that's normally when it is really bad. The worst my depression has gotten was this past summer, and I mentioned this in the cosplay, why I like to cosplay video. It was just, there's a lot of things out of my control that were directly affecting my life, and it stressed me out beyond belief. I normally can handle stress pretty well, and there was so much going on. I couldn't cope, and it did put me in a really dark place. I let my depression get the better of me, because with high functioning, I don't want to say you can necessarily control it, but you can work around it, I suppose. And or at least in my case, I can. I don't know if that's true for other people who have high functioning depression or not. That's just how mine works, or how I work. And I want to clarify, like, this is mostly all on my experiences with depression, and then I'll read some stuff I got off of like Mayo Clinic and what it is more generally, and I will link all the hotlines I can find, and because I want to make this a series, it'll be on depression, anxiety, etc. I'll link those down below if you need them, or if you know somebody who might need them. And if you do feel like somebody is in a really bad place and might need help, try talking to them first. And don't go to don't go to their parents or someone close to them and being like, hey, this person might be not thinking great things about themselves, or might do something hurtful, and then make them come in, because sometimes people don't know how to handle these situations, and they'll come in and be like, what are you doing? Why are you thinking like that? And that just makes things worse. You got to take a softer approach with it. You got to just talk to them and be like, hey, I saw this thing online or whatnot, and maybe you want to look into it. And give them a number, give them a website or something, and just be like, hey, if you want to talk, I'm right here. I'll leave my phone on. You know, if I can get a step away from my job, I'm there for you. And I'm not saying that's always going to work. You know, unfortunately, it doesn't. But it's better than not doing anything. So, yeah. But yeah, I'll link all those down below. And this is just kind of, I'll have like the definition and that I got from Mayo Clinic about depression, and what how it displays itself. Excuse me. And whatnot. But yeah, so like this past summer it was really rough, and I was in a really dark place. I was just like, and I'll probably put like a trigger warning in front of this just in case. But I was just like, my thought process got so bad at one point that I was just like, if I die, I don't have to deal with this anymore. And I think that sentence right there is why I was so nervous, because I didn't think I was going to talk about it. I haven't told many people that. I mean, I didn't like plan anything out, or that was just like one day where it's just like work wanted to call me in. I ignored the phone call because normally I was just like, yes, give me all the hours, please. And I was like, no, I'll go when I'm scheduled, but that's all I'm up to doing, if that. Because I'm not the type of person to call out just unless I'm really sick, and I don't like to explain. I think subconsciously in my mind, well, that's what subconscious means, but I have that stigma towards, or I'm afraid that people will have that stigma if I'm like, hey, I'm feeling depressed today, I'm not in a good mental health state today, I can't come in. I think they'll just be like, oh, you're just being lazy or whatnot. I mean, my team, or the people I work with, they're pretty understanding about that, but I think subconsciously I'm like, don't want to have to explain this. I don't want them to judge me, kind of thing. But yeah, I was just like, if I die, I don't have to deal with this anymore. And that's just something that happens when you can't control anything in your life, and it's just spiraling into chaos. But I mean, things were better a month later in August, and I talked to my friends. Thankfully, I have such wonderful friends. I'm going to say this all the time because they're fantastic. And I just talked to them, and I was just literally like, how are you doing? I told them, I'm like, honestly, I'm not doing great. And they're like, okay, well, we're here for you if you need anything. And they genuinely meant it. I mean, sometimes people will be like, oh, yeah, I'm here for you. And then you try calling them, they don't answer, they don't text you back or anything. And it's just like, okay, well, so much for that. But yeah, it was just a really tough time, but I did end up getting through it, obviously. I'm here. And that's because, and like I mentioned in the cosplay video, I focused on the things that I was looking forward to, that I had coming up, and things I was really, and that I was going to really enjoy, and friends I was going to see that I hadn't seen in a year. And I found the will to get out of bed and, you know, press on and take care of the things I could take care of and just focus on that. And that's my general experience. Normally, for the most part, my depression doesn't act up too bad. It's much more my anxiety, which is high functioning too, and I'll talk about that in the next episode. But yeah, mine is not triggered easily, and when it does trigger, it's just a lack of motivation, or just not feeling really anything. Just feeling like a deep emptiness, like not in your heart, but like deep in your chest, or sometimes the pit of your stomach. And first, like, I'm like, I don't know why I'm feeling like this, and then when I got diagnosed with high functioning depression and anxiety, I was like, oh yeah, that makes so much more sense. It doesn't keep you from having those feelings, but it is nice to know why you're having those feelings. And since it's high functioning, I don't have to take any medication or anything like that. Sorry, my breakfast is being rude. It's just Cheerios. I don't know why. But so let me get into the generals of depression. General overview from it. The Mayo Clinic, and I'll link all my sources too down below. And so depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest, also called major depressive disorder or clinical depression. That's when it's really bad, when it's hard to function for a long time. It's almost consistent. You'll have highs and lows, and you have to take, well, you don't have to take a medication, but it's suggested to take a medication. It affects how you feel, think, and behave, and can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. You may have trouble doing normal day-to-day activities, and sometimes you may feel as if life is not worth living. Well, it is, I promise you. It will get better. One day, it might seem life is terrible. Month, even a year, it might seem awful. But just find the little things that make you happy. I know it's so much easier said than done, but just find those little things that make you happy, that you love, or, you know, try finding a hobby that just drives you a little bit, and just focus on those. And I'm saying that because that's what I did, and I know that's what worked for me. That's not a guarantee to work for even anybody else. Certainly not everyone. And I know they say, you know, work out, do this and that. Well, if you are depressed and you don't have the motivation, you're not going to do those things. If you do them right, if you work out regularly, it does help you produce more serotonin, which helps. But that's something you have to do regularly, and if you're depressed all the time, you're not going to be doing that. So you just got to find little things that work for you and help make you feel like you have a reason to get out of bed. And I'll continue reading what the overview is. It's more than just a bout of the blues. Depression isn't a weakness. It is not a weakness. You are not weak for having depression. You are wonderful, beautiful, strong, and you're getting through this. You are amazing. You are a superhero. And I love you and I support you. And you got this. You can totally get through it. It may take a long time, but you will get through it. And you can't, and back to the description, and you can't simply snap out of it. Depression may require long-term treatment, but don't get discouraged. Most people with depression feel better with medication, psychotherapy, or both. Okay. My computer glitched out for a minute. Super cool. I love it when it does that. I'll probably edit this bit out. Okay. And then there are, depression can display itself differently in different people. And it says, although depression may occur only once during your lifetime, people typically have multiple episodes. During these episodes, symptoms occur most of the day, nearly every day, and may include feelings of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness. That's how it affects me. That's not a word, but yeah. Or hopelessness, angry outburst, irritability, or frustration, even over small things. That's how my anxiety displays, which is, it's frustrating for everyone involved. You just got to give me 10 minutes and then I'll be okay. Loss of interest or pleasure in most or all normal activities such as sex, hobbies, or sports. And that's why when they say, oh, work out, that'll help. Like, if you've lost interest in doing anything, you're not going to want to get up and go for a 5-mile run or go to the gym or be around people. Like, I understand the thought process, but at the same time, I don't, if that makes sense. I had to make sure this was still recording because it cut out a second ago. I wasn't saying anything, but cut out a second ago. Hopefully my throat doesn't get too dry during this one. I have water and coffee. Hopefully. Back to the list of symptoms. Sleep disturbances, including insomnia or sleeping too much. And I will be talking about insomnia because that's another way it manifests. That's what I was looking for earlier. Manifests within me. And we are so well acquainted. Tiredness and the lack of energy. So even small tasks take extra effort. Like me going to work, or just like the 8-hour shifts I would have were just dreadful because all I wanted to do was go back in my bed and cry. And I had to like fight tears off at work, and it was a really rough time. Thankfully, for the most part, I have great coworkers that are very upbeat and positive, and just make the day better in general. I mean, as much as I don't like work, it's not because of my coworkers, it's because of the type of job it is. And me being an introvert, just, I don't want to be in retail anymore, but that's a story for another time. In a reduced appetite and weight loss, or increased cravings in food and weight gain. For the most part, I've seen the weight loss, like in me and others I know who have depression. You don't want to do anything. You don't even want to eat. Like during my depression, I was like, I have a kidney transplant. So when I would wake up, I would like, okay, I have to take my meds. And that was like another reason I knew I wasn't going to do anything, because I was getting up, taking my morning meds and taking my night meds at the time I'm supposed to take them, because I have to take those to keep my kidney working, and my kidney working keeps me alive. So I have to take them. And that was another thing. I'm jostling the camera, aren't I? Yeah, I am. And that was like, I knew I wasn't going to do anything, even though I did get in that thought process. But, and then I was like, I have to eat something with my meds. I need to eat something. I need to shower, because I don't like feeling gross. So I was doing like the minimal day-to-day things, but with zero enthusiasm and a lot of effort to do it. And I would eat just enough not to be hungry anymore. So, and like I've seen the reduced appetite and weight loss, like I said, in people I know who have depression. And more symptoms are anxiety, agitation, or restlessness, slowed thinking, speaking, or body movements, feeling of worthlessness or guilt, fixating on past failures or self-blame. Whatever it is, it's in the past. You can't fix it. And you know, a lot of the time it's not your fault, or it was a mistake, and shit happens. That's life. And what you got to do is you just got to learn from it and move on. And you're not worthless. You are certainly not worthless. Everyone has their worth on this planet, for good or bad. I mean, there are some people that, I mean, you can't have one without the other. But if you follow any of my social medias, you'll know what I mean. Thinking politically. But we won't get into that. You're not worthless at all. You're wonderful, and you're getting through it, and you're amazing. All right. And then some more are trouble thinking, concentrating, making decisions, and remembering things. This one, I didn't know it was a symptom of depression until reading this, but that would make a sense why I've been having trouble remembering things in the last few years, or concentrating, and just like my head feels jumbled a lot. And then there's like days where everything's fine. I'm like, I got this. Just I keep going. I get it done, you know, and everything makes sense. All right, and then one of the ones we most frequently associate with depression, unfortunately, is frequent or reoccurring. It should be reoccurring thoughts, not recurrent. Well, I guess that works. Recurrent thoughts of death, suicidal thoughts, suicide attempts, or suicide. unfortunately, a lot of times it takes that extreme for people to notice or people to even talk about depression, which sucks. There shouldn't be a stigma on it. It's your brain not producing the chemicals it needs to produce, and that does this. And your brain is an organ, so why it's not treated as like heart disease or lung cancer or something like that, something physical, or even like a broken bone or a muscle ache, why it's not treated the same way other organs are, I don't understand. And it should be. And just, it should be more of something more than just, oh, take the Xanax, you'll be fine. Or go talk to a therapist. Not everyone can talk to a therapist. They're expensive. A lot of insurances don't cover it because it's not, mental health isn't taken seriously. And that's a huge problem. We wouldn't be seeing the amount of suicides we are if it was taken seriously. If people felt that they wouldn't be judged or something because their brain's not working right. I don't understand that thought process, and it just it boggles my mind. It really does. All right, and then and the last one it shows is unexplained physical problems such as back pains or headaches, and that's another thing. People like, oh well, it's all in your mind. Again, your mind is an organ, but it also displays itself physically too, and people are quick to find answers to the physical problems. They're like, oh, well, it's the weather or some other BS or something that it's actually your brain is being like, hey, I'm showing you signs that I'm not working right. That's what needs to be fixed. Everything else will be fixed if you fix this. And also one thing that kind of just doesn't make sense to me, your brain gives you signals to when something hurts. Like your knee hurts, that's your brain telling you. They're communicating, knee and your brain, they're communicating to tell you that your knee hurts. So I'm just like, why do you listen to your brain for everything else that's going on in your body, but not your brain? And when I say you, I mean like doctors and society. So, and this next sentence in the overall description, I found really interesting is that, and it kind of just reiterates what I just said, and people just choose to ignore it. It says, for many people with depression, symptoms usually are severe enough to cause noticeable problems in day-to-day activities, such as work, school, social activities, or relationships with others. Some people may feel generally miserable, unhappy without knowing why, because mental health goes undiagnosed. And if you know somebody well enough, say, even if you've been working with someone 3 months and they're new to the job, they're normally very cheery, maybe more talkative, and then one day they come in and they don't want to talk to anybody, they barely look at you, they stare at the floor a lot, maybe something's going on. It might not be depression, maybe just something happened in their life. And just be like, hey, you okay? You don't have to be like, oh, you're not your normal self. Just be like, hey, do you want a hug? Let me know if you need anything. Just soft demeanor, soft tone, make yourself approachable. And again, all this is easier said than done. But if you see something, it's like the see something, say something rule that they have at airports. It's like that. But, and you never know, maybe that just being like, hey, I'm there, can be like, oh, somebody does care about me. Maybe I should go another day or another month, and just, you can really help somebody doing that. See what else my notes have to say. It says, when to see a doctor. If you feel depressed, again, easier said than done. I mean, our current political administration has just tore affordable health care to hell and back. So I know in the southern states, in red states, the minimum was like $290 for a bronze plan. When I was on Affordable Health Care Act in 2015, when it started, I paid $15 a month. My medicines were only copay. I only think I had to pay $10 for my medications, and I take 6 medications. And my copays were like $25 for doctors. And now I'm just like, nope. The point of it being affordable is that you can afford it. If you're having to get on the Affordable Health Care Act, more than likely can't pay $290, let alone anything more than that. But that's a rant for another video. But again, all of this, I'm saying this is all easier said than done. But it says when to see a doctor. If you feel depressed, make an appointment to see your doctor or mental health professional as soon as you can. If you're reluctant to seek treatment, talk to a friend or a loved one, any healthcare professional. Anyways, a faith leader or someone else you trust. They like threw that in. They're like, go see a doctor. When to get emergency help. If you think you may hurt yourself or attempt suicide, call 911 or local emergency number immediately. It's not my personal experience, but in my experience with 911, I mean, they kind of treat it as if you broke an arm in a way, because they rush to you, or not, more like I would say a heart attack. They rush to you, depending on what happened, they will either give you something to like throw up the medication you took, or stop the physical elements of attempts, and then put you in a psych ward for a few days, which, depending on the hospital, can be good or bad. It really just depends on the facility. And I mean, yes, call 911, get help if you need to, please. It just, be aware it might be a little traumatizing. It might be a little rough. But please, 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 if you are in that mindset, call the hotline numbers I'm going to put down below, or call 911, call a friend, call somebody you know will help you. And if you don't, and that's why the hotlines are there. If you don't feel like you have anyone you can talk to, call 911, call the hotlines. That's why they're there. They're there to help you. They're there to help us. And that's why it's just, those are important. They're there for you. And they also provided some numbers. It says call your doctor and mental health professional. And they have the call a suicide hotline numbers, such as the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and it's 1-800-273-TALK, which is 1-800-273-8255. Use that number and then press 1 if you need to reach the Veterans Crisis Line. And then it says reach out to a close friend or loved one. If you're spiritual, if you're religious, reach out to your minister, your pastor. Unfortunately, I don't know what they are in other religions, because I was raised Primitive Baptist and Methodist. We'll talk about religion at a later date. But that's just how I grew up, knowing what they were. Unfortunately, I think, I don't want to say it, but whoever your religious leader is, or spiritual leader is, that you can talk to and will help guide you through it, go for it. And this one, for those who don't know what to do, or don't have a depression, but they have a loved one who does, it says, if you have a loved one who is in danger of suicide, or may attempt a suicide, or make a words are hard. All right, or has made a suicide attempt, make sure someone stays with that person. Call 911 or your local emergency number immediately. So not much difference, just like if you walk in on it, which is rough too. It's really rough. I haven't walked in on any, but there's just been some things that have happened that I'm glad they didn't follow through with. I'm really glad they didn't follow through with. Yeah. Another reason why I was a little nervous about making this video. I knew I was gonna cry. But it's just, it's a lot, and for everybody. And yeah, But don't make them feel guilty. Do not make them fucking feel guilty. Their brain's already telling them enough. Don't make it worse. Just tell them that you love them, that you're there for them, and you're sorry that they had to go through this, and that they're not alone. Help them find help, you know. And that's what you need to do. You know what I'm like? How could you? So selfish of you. You know, what would I do without you? I know that's what your brain automatically thinks. You want to yell at them because you're just like, why? But don't do that. That's not good. Yeah. And then it goes into causes. And I think this is one of the reasons why diagnosing it can be difficult. And all that good stuff. Not well. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. It's not exactly known what causes depression. As with many mental disorders, a variety of factors may be involved, such as treatment was the word I was. So diagnosis and treatment are a little bit tricky when it comes to mental health. So I keep looking at the clock. I have to be at work at 2:45. And it's 1 now, so I have to leave at 2:10. And I still have to get dressed for work, which only takes a sec. I'm cold, so I'm gonna be cozy. Alright. Suggested causes, what doctors think are causes. Biological differences. People with depression appear to have physical changes in their brain. See, physical. Your brain is an organ, and it has physical features too, just like all the other organs in your body. Who would have known? Ugh, the stigma kills me. I don't understand it at all. The significance of these changes is still uncertain, but may eventually help pinpoint causes. So, you know, fund these things so they can find things. It's just a suggestion. Our government, you know, actually help people. Our government. It is something else. Brain chemistry, neurotransmitters are naturally occurring brain chemicals that likely play a role in depression. Recent research indicates that changes in the function and the effect of these neurotransmitters and how they interact with neural circuits involved in maintaining mood stability may play a significant role in the depression and its treatment. Basically, that's saying, like, when I was talking about, like, your knee hurts, well, your brain tells you your knee hurts. That's what the neurotransmitters are. It's those connections and how it communicates, telling you that something's wrong. And also it's talking about your brain. Well, more so in the next one where it's talking about hormones, but your brain being like, I'm not producing enough serotonin, and this is how I'm telling you. And so hormones, the next topic. Changes in the body balance of hormones may be involved in causing or triggering depression. Hormone changes can result with... Oh, okay, they didn't phrase this well, but hormone changes can result with pregnancy and during the weeks or months after delivery, postpartum, and from thyroid problems, menopause, and a number of other conditions. So it's saying, like, you can have depression during your pregnancy, which happens a lot in women, which isn't talked about. But I feel like postpartum is talked about more because it happens to, I think, it can be so drastic. And so it's basically when your body is just, your hormones are kind of all over the place. And I think that's kind of why we get the moody teen and that attitude. I mean, your body's changing from a little kid with no hormones, transitioning slowly into an adult, and your body's like, I don't know what's going on. So I think that's part of that whole moody teen thing. It doesn't give me an excuse to be a little jerk, but still. All right, and inherited traits. Okay, I didn't know this. Depression is more common in people whose blood relatives also have this condition. Researchers are trying to find genes that may be involved causing depression. I did not know that. That's interesting to know. I keep checking that this is still recording because, like I said, it cut off a second ago, or well, 21 minutes ago, and now I'm just kind of paranoid about it. And when I read this, I'm on the risk factors. And it kind of not plays in, but backs my theory that I just came up with a second ago, a little bit, and also would explain like why I've had insomnia since I was a teenager, and had no idea why. And I was just like, I'm just going to school without any sleep today. Depression often begins in the teens when your hormones start kicking up. Makes sense. Your 20s, you don't know what you're doing in your 20s. Maybe you go to college, maybe you drop out of college, maybe you go back to college, maybe you don't go to college at all, and you're just trying to figure your life out, and now you have a million bills, and you're like, how am I supposed to pay for anything? How am I supposed to eat? How am I supposed to keep a roof over my head? You have a lot going on in your 20s, especially your early 20s. Or 30s, because then you're expected to have at least a bachelor's degree, a stable career, and stuff like that. And like, I'm 28, I don't have that, and sometimes it gets me down, but I'll get through it. I'll figure it out. But it can happen at any age. More women than men are diagnosed with depression. But this may be due in part because women are more likely to seek treatment. And that kind of goes back into toxic masculinity, which I will talk about later on in another video at some point, about toxic masculinity and how not only does it hurt women, but it hurts men. I mean, toxic masculinity hurts men more than hurts anyone else, believe it or not. And it's just like, oh, I have a cold. There's nothing wrong with me. And you're tearing yourself up inside and be like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to go see a doctor. Go see a doctor. You don't have to tell anybody you saw a doctor. Just go see a doctor. Focus on you. That's all that matters. This kind of is more symptoms, and I'll still read them off to you. Factors that seem to increase the risk of developing or triggering depression include certain personality traits, such as low self-esteem or being too dependent, self-critical, or pessimistic. I don't like the way they phrase that, but not necessarily. So, like, I guess it's a personality trait, but I mean, that can change. I mean, I guess your personality changes over the years, but I can see how low self-esteem is. I used to not, like, I'm a lot more confident in myself and in my overall looks and stuff like that now, but I didn't used to be. And I can see where you're just kind of like, don't look at me. Or being too dependent, you're too, not scared, nervous to, or don't think. I guess that kind of goes back into the low self-esteem. Don't think you can do stuff on your own. I mean, there's times now that I'm like, when I was thinking about doing this channel, I was like, I've been actually toying with the idea for about a month or two now. And then I just decided, I'm going to do it. And I was like, I don't think I can do it. Nobody's going to like it. What would be the point? It'd just be a waste of time. And then, but you got to learn how to do, you got to step out of your comfort zone. You got to learn how to do things on your own, or you're going to be screwed. You just have to. I definitely relate with self-critical when it comes to my cosplay stuff. And this is the only thing I do it with, really, is like, why is this not perfect? That scene doesn't need to look like that. That should have been better. Stuff that nobody will notice. It won't get picked up in pictures or anything. And I'm just like, it's not perfect. Why are you like this? Or pessimistic. Thankfully, I'm too optimistic to be pessimistic. Pessimistic thought processes piss me off. Like, stop it! There's no reason to think that way. There's no... It's all, like, especially when it's on things that have clearly worked before, and then you're still just like, oh, well, what if it doesn't work? I mean, set your expectations low so you're not disappointed, but also expect better out of people. Expect them to rise to the standards. Or the event, or the occasion, whatever. It's just... But that's me. Traumatic or stressful events such as physical or sexual abuse, the death or loss of a loved one, a difficult relationship, or financial problems. The last two are definitely what have put me in what was the issue in July, this past summer for me. I'm $100,000 in debt. Most of it's student loans. A lot of it's medical bills and credit cards. Because I was like unemployed for 2 sections of 2 years, 6 months at a time. And while I could have gotten unemployment, probably, I wasn't really sure how to go about it. I don't like calling people. I don't like, so I was just like, I got credit cards, I'll be okay. Swipe. And really screwed myself over. But that was part of it. I'm like, I'm drowning. I don't know how to get out of this. I don't want to file for bankruptcy. I actually had like a little depression session earlier this week because I was just like, I don't want to be 28 and file for bankruptcy. And I don't. But hopefully, you know, I'll figure it out. It'll get figured out. It'll all be fine. And then in difficult relationships. Yeah, that's what mine kind of stemmed from. Like, I had a difficult, I mean, it wasn't a relationship. I still don't know what it was. And neither do they, honestly. But it was just, that caused a lot of issues post-ending whatever it was. And at that time, we had ended it 7 months ago, or 7 months prior. And then they wanted to kick shit up. And that's just a lot. It was a lot that just took its toll on me. And then factors that seem to increase the risk of developing or triggering depression include certain personality traits such as, did I just read this? Yeah, okay, I see where I'm at. Okay, the next one after that is blood relatives with a history of depression, bipolar disorder, alcoholism, or suicide. So I think that's they were kind of more referring back to the genetic possibilities of mental health. And then the next one, which I've seen in a lot of my friends and you see online a lot, unfortunately, is that being lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. And I appreciate they put bisexual in there. I'm pansexual, and we get ignored a lot. It's like, oh, pick one. You can't like both. You can, or all. You can like all. All. We'll get into that later. Or transgender, or having variations in the development of genital organs that aren't clearly male or female, intersex, in an unsupportive situation. So unfortunately, you see a lot of kids and teenagers, and even adults, who come out to their parents, and their parents are like, I hate you, you're not my child anymore, get out. When all they need is support and love. And because they don't get that from their parents, who they thought they could trust, they decide to end it, which is just, it breaks my heart so much. I don't understand how you could, you know, birth and raise a child, and then they decide they go against your heteronormative cisgendered society because they want to be true to themselves, and that's how they feel, and you're just like, no, fuck you, get the fuck out. I can't wrap my head around that mentality at all. It's just, that's when I didn't even come out to myself until I was 25. And there's some people, I mean, they're gonna know now, there's some people in my family who don't know. Because I haven't really acted on it. I've been on a couple dates with women, but I do tend to lean more to men, so I can be straight passing. And I have that luxury. I have that benefit, I guess, or privilege, where if, all shit hit the fan, I would be okay in that regard. But there's so many people who aren't, and who have died from it, either from their own hands or the hands of others. And I mean, I'm scared for my friends in general, just because of what's going on in the world, but especially my friends who are transgender and LGBT in general. And because there's just so much hate garnered towards them for no reason. And it's terrifying. And you hear on the news so much, way too often, that, this 10-year-old who is just figuring out their self-identity, committed suicide because they were bullied at school, or their parents kicked them out, didn't support them, didn't love them. It's awful. It is awful. There's no reason for that. I mean, if you wouldn't do that if your kid came up to you and be like, "Hey, I'm straight." Like, okay, cool. Don't get anyone pregnant. Don't get pregnant. Don't get AIDS. Don't get STDs. Use protection. Why don't you have that same thought process with somebody who is LGBT? Be like, don't get syphilis. Like, be safe. That should be your thought process. Just be safe. Be smart. You're going to be sexually active. Like, I can't get it. I just can't wrap my mind around it. The next bullet point is history of other mental health issues or health disorders, such as anxiety disorder, eating disorder, or post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. We've kind of stressed on that. It's just like, you go with undiagnosed issues, and then they just progress because you don't know what's going on. You don't feel like seeking help or whatnot, or reluctant to. Yeah, and then abuse of alcohol, recreational drugs, the next one, because that shit can fuck up your brain. Don't do it, or do it in moderation. And not the drugs. Don't do cocaine and heroin and shit like that. Don't do it. Serious or chronic illnesses such as cancer, stroke, chronic pain, and heart disease. And this one has kind of stoked my depression a little bit sometimes when I get into not such a happy place. It's just like, some days I'm just like, I'm so tired of taking these medications. I wish my kidney would just be healthy and I didn't have to take these. Because I got my kidney 13 years ago. 13 years ago last month, over Thanksgiving. And I'm grateful to have it. I wouldn't be alive without it. But like, when you just see the medical bills piling up, when you get admitted to the hospital every time you have a UTI, when you're so used to getting your blood drawn and needle stuck in your arm, which sucks. I mean, it still hurts all the same, but you just get real tired of it. Get real tired of taking medication. Get real tired of seeing how much medications cost and all this shit with big pharma. And it's frustrating, and there's nothing you can do about it, because you don't, like, me personally, I'm not a scientist. I didn't go to medical school. So I'm like, I don't personally have a way to fix it. And I have to keep taking my meds. I have to keep myself healthy. And like, there's things I can't do. And it's kind of just like, not necessarily keeping up with the Joneses, but you see other people your age and they're able to do this and that, and you can't because it could kill you. It's really frustrating. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal at all, and I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to have a functioning kidney. even if I have to take medications with it. I mean, it takes me a second to take my meds. But it's still really frustrating, or it can be. And sometimes my brain is just like, if you were healthy, this wouldn't be happening, or you could do this. And also, one thing that the main thing that gets me down with it is the kidney's not going to last. When I got the transplant 13 years ago, they're like, you get 15 to 20 years. I'm at 13 years, but my doctor's like, we're going to try to keep that forever. So, and I trust my doctor. She's great. So, I mean, there's new technology coming out. They're toying with, they're learning how to 3D print organs now. I mean, this is really another topic, but it rolls into this one a bit because it's where my thought process goes when I'm depressed. On the next one too. But yeah, and that my doctors basically, their thought process is, if you stay healthy, if you keep taking your medications, it'll stay alive long enough for something else better to come by. You shouldn't, or a way to keep this kidney forever and not have to worry about it failing on me or anything like that, because the medical technology is advancing so much. And the next one is certain medications such as high blood pressure medicine, which is what I'm on, or sleeping pills can cause depression. Ooh. I keep leaning too forward and then you just see my chin. I mean, it's a beautiful chin, but you just see my whole beautiful face. All right, complications. Depression is a serious disorder that can take a terrible toll on you and your family. That's kind of, it's like they're trying to be sympathetic, but at the same time a little judgy. Depression often gets worse if it isn't treated. I mean, that's the case with most illnesses, resulting in emotional, behavioral, and health problems that affect every area of your life. Very itchy nose. Examples of complications associated with depression include excess weight or obesity. You don't normally hear that part of it. That's interesting. Which can lead to heart disease or diabetes, pain or physical illness. I mean, back to what I was saying earlier. Lose the stigma. Alcohol and drug misuse, anxiety, panic disorder, or social phobia. I mean, people suck. Have you been around people? They're awful. Family conflicts, relationship difficulties, and work or school problems. Like, you see, like, this whole thing is like, you make your positive vibes. Don't let people bring you down. But, which, I mean, it's true to a fact. I mean, but again, that's easier said than done. Like, sometimes I work retail. I've worked retail for 7-8 years now. And then I worked food service before then as a waitress. People are fucking awful. Especially to those who are just doing their job. Like, if somebody has a return, they're so shitty about it. And if you just come up and be like, I want to return this, I didn't want this, or, you know, something is actually wrong with it, and you're polite, nobody's going to get shitty with you. If you do, that's on them. But don't come in being shitty, popping an attitude, because that's just going to ruin the rest of my fucking day. And I'm going to be pissed, and I'm not going to be around, I'm not going to look forward to the things I want to do. I just want to be away from people. And just like, when you have to deal with that on a day-to-day basis, or, you know, if you work a job where it's shit, your boss is shit, and you hate your job, you dread going into it, and then you have people harassing you at work for bullshit reasons, and then you come home to, you know, a toxic partner who yells at you about everything, or you are both have ended up being toxic in the relationship and you yell at each other and you don't want to go home or anything like that, it makes it really difficult to just keep a positive mindset and be like, oh, I'm not going to let this get me down. I make my own happiness and all those other positive things. Like, that's true to an extent, but other things definitely influence you and influence that mindset. And, the heat just turned on, but it's not doing anything. So, Yeah, that's my nose is so itchy. So it definitely takes a factor. It's a factor. It takes a toll on you. Social isolation. Yes. I mean, you do. I mean, human beings do need interaction. So I mean, apparently hermits don't, and that's fine. Like my social interaction, like I talk to one person a week. I'm fine. I don't know. That one I'm on the fence about just because I'm an introvert. I'm fine with not talking to people. I never feel the need. I was like, oh, I need to go out and talk to people. I need to go do something. I need to go do something social. No. No. Don't like it. Again, I will be putting up a trigger warning. And I say that because the next tabs are a little... But I'll put one up at the beginning, and I think I've said it a few times throughout the video. So the next tab is suicidal feelings, suicide attempts, or suicide, self-mutilation, such as cutting, or other harmful acts to your body. And then, so this is examples of complications with depression. Okay. I was confused for a minute. Premature death from medical conditions. So, like, if I hadn't gotten a medical attention when my kidneys failed when I was 14, I would have died at 14. Because my kidneys failed. I'm not really sure. I guess that'd be more so causing depression in others. I mean, because that one's a little confusing, but I think I know where they're headed with that. All right, prevention. There's no sure way to prevent depression because it's your brain acting up. However, these strategies may help. Take steps to control stress, to increase your resilience, or boost your self-esteem. Like I said earlier, for the most part, I can handle stress pretty well in stressful situations, and I can work pretty well under pressure if I know what I'm doing. But there are times where you just get really overwhelmed, and it's a lot, and you just want to scream and be like, leave me alone! And you're like, back the fuck off, and shit like that. And sometimes you have to. That's a way of controlling stress. You have to, like, back up. Get out of my space. I have to figure this out, and you're not helping. I mean, setting boundaries is a part of setting control, or controlling things. And setting your own boundaries and setting boundaries for others in your space. Not like being like, these are your boundaries for yourself, but like, these are your boundaries when it comes to me and my space and what I'm doing. If you have supportive loved ones and friends who you can reach out to, it says, reach out to family and friends, especially in time of crisis, to help weather your rough spells. Get treatment at the earliest sign of the problem to help prevent the depression from worsening. I think that's a little easier now, but like, I look back and I definitely started having signs of depression when I was like 13, before my kidneys failed. And because I mean, I've had insomnia for a long time. I'll talk about that a little bit down the ways. But I feel like that's kind of hard to pick up because for some people, like, I didn't realize I had depression until I was in college. And because I talked to one of my roommates who was a neuroscience major, and I was like, what are the symptoms of depression? And she told me, and I was like, okay. Even like, and those are like the general accepted ones, even if it's not that bad. And she was like, yeah, for the most part, sometimes it's just, you know, emptiness and losing interest in things and no motivation. I was like, okay. And then I went to talk to my doctor later that week, and they're like, oh, you have high functioning depression. Like, oh, okay. And like, I look back, and like I said, I look back now, and it was 13 years, or I was 13 years old, and when 14, when I probably started having depression, maybe even earlier than that. And I know my sister was diagnosed when she was a kid, when I was like 10 years old. And so I say it's easier now to know what they are because more people are talking about it. Not enough people are talking about it, but there's more talking about it. I mean, depression was something that happened to adults. it wasn't something because, you know, their life wasn't where they wanted or something bad happened to them. When you're 13, you're not thinking about, or at least when I was 13, you don't think about those things. You think about what the kids at school are saying and not having any fashion sense and what the newest fad is and what movie is coming out that weekend. And what are you going to do in that weekend to hang out with your friends and stuff like that? You don't think about why is my brain not working? Maybe you do. I didn't. I just was like, okay, I just am not feeling great today, or like I guess I just shrugged it off and didn't think about it. And it did get worse over the years, but it didn't get too terribly worse, thankfully. But yeah, I think now with like more, because I'm older than Google, I'm older than YouTube, so we didn't have that access to just type in, "Hey, what's wrong with me, Google?" Make sure my Google didn't come up. But now, thankfully, we have more access to things like that, and I think that might help with figuring it out sooner, which is good. I mean, that's how, like they say with cancer and stuff like that, you know, finding it earlier is better because then you can get it under control. Consider getting long-term maintenance treatment to prevent a relapse of symptoms. Basically, going to your doctor regularly, going to a therapist regularly. But again, easier said than done. Insurance is a big factor in that. You can scroll down, or don't. That's cute, computer. I really hope it was recording all of that. Just a little bit. All right, and with that last little article, I'm gonna end it there with 20 minutes to get ready for work. So this video will probably be an hour and a half, because there's some bits I'm gonna cut out. I didn't say as much as I did in the last one. Slightly getting better. Maybe it will never stop. But I hope this was informative. I hope got something out of it. I hope you can feel like you can talk to me. I mean, I have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. If you want to contact me on anything like that, and you're just like, hey, I need someone to talk to or just to vent to, I will happily talk to you. Again, I'm gonna link those those phone lines, those text lines, and all that down below. And you know, take care of yourself. I love you. You're strong. I support you. If you need anyone, I'm here for you. I really am. I'm not just saying that. Reach out to your friends, your family, or use the lines. That's what they're there for. Use those hotlines and just take care of yourself. I know it's a rough time. You're gonna get through it. It'll be bright and sunny soon enough. If you're depressional, if it's seasonal depression, it will get better. You know, I know everyone says it, but things do get better, even if it's just something little. So yeah, please take care of yourself. I love you. I hope you have a great day. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.